everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lola and I'm currently in UWC China. It is my second year, and today I hope to share some advice for the interview process of a UWC application, especially because it is mostly interview season for everyone. You may be preparing or waiting for your first stage results, and so this is my piece of advice and some stories from my own interview process, and I really hope that this will help you and give you some motivation and some reassurance about the whole interview process, and I really hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. And before we begin, I would like to let you know that there is a server on Discord where you can talk to other applicants if you would like to meet new people from around the world who are also applying, because I understood how it felt to be so alone because I was the only person I knew who was applying. But then I created a server and I said, okay, I want to meet people from all around the world and see how their process is like. And so by doing so, I got to make friends from different countries, and then we ended up in different UWCs. And so it was really nice to share our processes together. And if you'd like to do that, do join the Discord server, and I will leave the link in the description below. And I'll also leave a link to our Instagram account, which is UWC Applicants, where we do have more advice like this. And at the same time, we get takeovers, where you get to see the daily lives of people from all UWC campuses. So if you would like to have more resources, then I do suggest that you join both of those, because they do give you advice from current students and also allow you to meet other applicants. So do make sure to join, and let's get started. So as a disclaimer, I'd like to say that my experience with interviews may not be the same for everyone, so do take my advice with a grain of salt, especially because for my NC's process, I did my interview online, and so my interaction with the whole experience may be different than someone who may have them in person. And the way my NC did it was we combined both group interviews and one-on-one interviews into one day. And so I was examined in both ways. And so I'll kind of just talk about both and then also give my advice while talking about it. So that's the plan. My first piece of advice for any stage really is to really try your best to convey your passion and your energy to the people in the space around you or the people in the meeting, because it may be hard, but it really does allow them to form a connection with you and really enjoy talking to you and maybe add some curiosity to them while they're asking you questions. And I feel like it may seem really hard. You may be asking, how can I convey my passion? I really think it's just through the small things. So smiling while talking to them, or just giving them some more insight to your personal life, adding a few stories, and also at the same time being very consistent with your personality, if that makes sense. So if you're really into music, try and, showcase how, or just share it with them, and don't be afraid to be open with them, because I say that the more open you are with them, the more they get to know you, and the more easy it is for them to come up with a decision, because then they'll have more information to work with. And yes, while passion is really important, I'd also say it's good to always make sure that whenever you want to give an answer, make sure that it is always concise. Try not to exceed around 45 seconds to a minute, because it does really impact people, because we do have short attention spans. And the thing is that when you go too long with your answer, people are just not going to interact with it as well because of the extended duration of your answer. And so my suggestion would be, try and keep your answers short, but not too short. So I'd say like between 45 seconds to a minute, so that you can speak, but then at the same time keep it concise so that you can still have your listeners' attention. All right, so I know you might be wondering, how can I phrase my answer in a way that it's short and concise? Well, my tip, I don't have a name for it yet, but we can call it like the time method, where you focus on the past, the present, and the future all in one answer by also keeping your answer concise. So let me give you an example. If someone asks me, Loa, what is your favorite animal? I first of all talk about my past, and then justify about my present, and then justify my future. So for example, I can be like, oh, I really like cats because ever since I was a kid, I've always had cats in my household. Right now, I currently have 2 cats, and they make me very happy, and I love spending time with them. They make me very calm. And in the future, I really hope to own cats myself and hopefully see how I would like to attain them, because in the past I used to, or like my old cats always used to be adopted, or we used to rescue them from the streets. And so I hope to apply that in the future to give these cats with unfortunate pasts a better home. So in that way, it's you're focusing on your past, what you've done before, or what you've experienced. How does that, or who does that make you today? And what do you want to do with that new attained skill? So with that information, you get to give your listener a lot of answers. And with that, you allow them to explore multiple aspects of you through just one answer, by also keeping your answers short. Because by focusing on what you've experienced, you keep it very short. You talk about, you show them how you've acknowledged something you've already done or something you've experienced. But then in the present, you also reflect on who's that made you today, or the skills you've attained, or the person you've become because of that. And then it also, by showing them the future goals, it shows them that you're very deep and very intuitive, and that you're looking beyond just the present, but also appreciating the past and acknowledging what it's made you today. So I know you might be wondering, what are the kind of questions that might be presented to you by an interviewer? Well, you have multiple kinds of questions they could ask you. One, they could try and get to know you. So for example, what do you like to do in your free time? Or what do you like to do in the future? What are your skills? What are your talents? What are your hobbies? What are your academic interests? Or what are your interests outside of school? So they could ask you questions trying to get to know you. And they also might ask you questions about trying to get to know how you would fit UWC. So for example, they could ask you, what are you most looking forward to about attending UWC? Or the obvious, why do you want to attend UWC? Or they can also say, which campus would you like? They could also ask you of scenario questions. So something like, well, imagine you get a roommate that you don't get along with. Or imagine you're with a classmate and you're discussing a topic that has turned into a debate. So they'll ask you, how would you handle that situation? And so they want to see how you would react, because you are being, like, if you get in and if you go, you're going to be put in a very new environment. And so they want to see, how would you handle situations that you've never dealt with before? And so it really helps them see how you think and how you want to approach a situation. So if you practice with these kinds of questions, it can really help you, because most UWC questions don't really stem far from those kinds of questions. And so if you try with them, it could really help you just get your answer prepped beforehand if you really need to. And another kind of question they might ask you is about your knowledge or awareness on issues that are happening in your community. And they want to see how you handle them, or how you see them, and how you hope to tackle them in the future. So for example, they asked me, what is a regional issue in Lebanon that speaks to your heart really dearly? And so they also have those kinds of questions to see how aware you are of your surroundings currently and what you know from your community, so that they can see if you have that awareness of what's happening in your community. And if not, you can always just ask your family, read around, look at the news before you get on there, just to see what your perspective is. My other tip is, don't think that you have to be political if they ask you a political question, if that makes sense. So if they ask you about a current issue that's happening that is somewhat controversial, don't think that you have to pick a side. Just show them what you think about it. There's a big difference. You don't have to give them an answer that you think might make them happy just because it's somewhat leaning to a political side or leaning to an ideology. Just give them your perspective on how you think about it. Because in reality, a UWC or a multicultural environment in general is always mixed with people with different opinions, and that's what makes it good because it's so different. And don't be afraid to be different in your opinions, and you do not have to come up with an answer that you think will fit them just because you think a UWC is like that. It really isn't. You are going to find people who are much different from each other, and they got here because they acknowledged and were okay with telling people that they had a different perspective. And so, whenever you're getting a question that you're confused on where to lean, just give them your opinion. And that's going to help them understand that taking a side isn't always the answer, but it's also thinking about it and seeing how that makes you feel, or what you decide, or what you say about a situation. That's what keeps them going, because you don't always have to choose a side to know what's going on. And so that's my second advice, or my next advice, in terms of how to answer a question, because it can happen, and not just in an interview, but outside as well. My next advice is you do not have to worry if you don't know which UWC you want to go to. That is completely okay. At the end of the day, if you're applying through the NC, you may not have a decision on where you end up anyways. But showing them that you have some interest in a campus is okay, but if you don't have one and you're willing to go to multiple, then say that. It is completely okay, because you don't have to really stick to a campus just because there's a spot in your NC. If there are others, then you can also show that you're fine with going to other places. So really show them that you're flexible, that though, yes, you may like Adriatic because they're on a cliff in Italy and it's beautiful, that you're also open with the other beautiful campuses, and that really, in reality, it's not just the location that makes it what it is, but it's also the people and the concept and also the experiences. So make sure to show that you're flexible with where you end up, and you're also flexible with the situations that they're gonna present to you. And try your best to be lenient with it. And again, don't try to just choose a campus because it's really pretty. Yes, it works, but then at the same time, also show that you're flexible, that your heart is not going to break if you don't get into Hogwarts or Atlantic, for example, that you are fine with the options. Another piece of advice I want to say is do come somewhat prepared. You don't have much to prepare for beforehand unless they ask you to, but do come in with a fresh mind. Get good sleep before you go. Drink water. Make sure you have a bottle next to you, because all of the talking could get you could really dry up your throat. And get a pen, get a notebook in case you want to note things down. Have good Wi-Fi, charge your laptop, charge yourself. That's also really important. Make sure to charge yourself. And then also at the same time, just make sure that you are very aware of where you stand. You know you want to get into UWC probably, or you really want to. And so make sure you apply that energy to the rest of the time, or the rest of the day that you have with them, just so that they can feel your energy, or they can feel your excitement. Make sure to show it, because it really is important that they understand that, okay, I really do want to get into UWC, and I want to show you guys that I'm a good fit. And I think if you get that mindset, it really helps, because they really feel it. They feel the energy. Like I said earlier, energy is really important. And about energy, like I said before, try your best to treat the interview as if it's a conversation, especially if it feels very lighthearted. Make it lighthearted. For example, for my interview, I had the head of my NC, and I also had a teacher from Adriatic. And in the moment I went there, I was very nervous, of course. My cheeks were red. But the way I approached it was, I'm like, okay, this is just a conversation. They just want to get to know me, so let me treat it like a conversation. And so that's my advice to you guys. Treat it like a lighthearted conversation with people who want to get to know you. because that's what it is. And once you treat it that way, you slightly get less nervous and you get more excited, you get more happy, you get a bit more eager to share more. And I say that if you give them that energy, they are going to react very well to it. So again, energy. So my advice is do treat it as a conversation. And once you do that, they will really enjoy the flow. So smile, laugh, just give them lighthearted stories. Try your best to just try and find a connection with them. And with that, I think they'll really appreciate that you took the time to just ease your nerves and go for it. Because they'll see it as very brave. Because it really is. It is not easy. But if you try and do it, I think they'd really appreciate it. Okay, so my other piece of advice is you do not have to say everything. I know you might want to. I know you might want to tell people all about you because you think that this is your one and only chance. It really isn't. But try your best to not say everything. Not everything has to be said because with that you allow them to ask you more questions, to get more curious about you, and at the same time, you don't worry yourself about, did I say enough? In your head, it may never be enough, but just be satisfied that whatever you tell them is you. That's another thing. I know a lot of people say, be yourself, but it is really important because you need to allow them to imagine you in this dorm, just like I am right now. They need to allow themselves to imagine you being in the UWC environment with the personality you're giving them so that they can assure themselves that they're picking the right person. And so don't worry about saying everything. You don't have to, as long as you're yourself with your answers and that at the end of the day, you give them who you are. And if they, for a reason, if they don't accept you, then you at least have the good conscience that you are yourself because they know that if you are a right fit, you're a right fit. But if you're not, it may have not just been the place for you. So, and my advice for that is do please be yourself. The most important advice that everyone's going to give. But yes, it is cliche, but it is really true because it works. So for example, in reference to me, I had 2 activities for my group interview. The first one, I had homework in which I had to prepare something beforehand, and then each person in the Zoom call had to present their homework. And afterwards, people could ask them questions and try and know further or know more about what they've said. And through that, that was a good opportunity. That's a good opportunity for you to speak. That's 1. And that's a good opportunity for you to show your curiosity. That's 2. And show that you're not going to ask generic questions, that you're going to kind of want to get to know them more. And that's a good way to do it, but then at the same time, realize that you don't have to always do it, if that makes sense. Be very periodic with it. That's my one thing. Like, allow other people to ask questions too. Because if they see that you're always trying to be the one to speak, they might feel like you're not giving other people a chance, or that at the same time it's just you're trying to control this group stage and make it yours. When in reality, I get it. You're nervous. You want people to see you, but at the same time, they do have other people to see. So I get it. Be selfish with, standing out. But at the same time, don't overdo it. That's another thing. And then another thing was we had a group debate. And in that group debate, what we did was we had to pick a side, be in breakout rooms, talk about it, and then also present it afterwards. Group work really helps them see if you're taking a leadership initiative or if you're also just being very communicative in the whole activity. And so that's my advice. Try and be very talkative, or at least try and contribute to the group activity. That's 1. And also don't overdo it. Allow other people to give their insights or give their opinions. And then to complement it, you react to it or you respond to it. That allows you to show that, it allows them to show that you listen at the same time while you speak. So that is my other advice for group stage. Amazing. And my next piece of advice would be also, don't forget that you have gone a very long way. So really do make sure that you are motivating yourself, you raise your confidence, and I know it's going to be nerve-wracking. It's okay, but also realize everyone gets nervous. You are not alone on this. It is not just you. And you've come a really long way already. And being at this stage of the interview process is already very impressive, which is something you should really be happy with yourself about. And trying your best to get through this stage is not easy. And you clicking on this video itself or other videos is really showing that you want to try your best, which is a very appreciative and a very commendable action. And so I say that no matter what happens, it's okay to be nervous, acknowledge it, it's okay, but then also at the same time, allow that to motivate you. You're nervous because you want to get in, and you want to get in really badly because it's a great place. And so take your nervousness and try your best to channel it into excitement or into confidence by just relaxing, taking deep breaths during your meetings, and also don't be afraid to take some time to answer your questions. It is okay to show them that you need to think for a few seconds before you answer, because it's okay. You're human. We're all human. We do it in regular conversations. And so it is okay not to know an answer right away or need a bit of time just to process what they're telling you, because it is a mixture of your nervousness plus an unusual question. So it is okay not to be aware of the question beforehand. Don't be nervous about that. It's okay. Just breathe and just talk. Just as if your friend asked you the question, or your teacher. Let's do your teacher. But yeah, don't worry about it. It is okay to be nervous, and I'm sure you'll do great regardless of how it goes statistically or through their results. But in reality, you are really trying something new. For people who have never done an interview before, it could be hard, but imagine this gives you really good real life practice so that when you have other opportunities in the future, you can look back at this and say, okay, we've done it, let's do it again. So you are going to start with heading to a really nice and good skill. You are really developing a tough skill by doing this. So don't forget that this is a learning process, and they understand that. So again, do not worry. But yes, you have everyone's support. You have my support, even though I don't know you, wherever you're watching this. But you do have it because I've been there. And I'm sure all of the students who have also done this before understand you. And you may not know it, but a lot of people are rooting for you. And you can do this. I know this video may have seemed chaotic. It kind of is. It's almost 2 a.m., but don't be like me. Don't take my sleeping schedule as an advice, or don't copy me. But I do hope you enjoy the video. These tips aren't all, of course. There are also more tips I could give, but of course it is up to you to see it in person for you to actually understand where I'm coming from. But then I would like to say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I really hope you guys do your best, which I'm sure you will. But I hope it all goes well in the end. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.